All right, what we're gonna be looking at is the bad, the ugly, and the good. Now, most of y'all don't know that there was a movie called The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. It's a Clint Eastwood movie. It's probably 40 years old, 35, 40 years old. How old is it, Susan?
Shut up.
Okay. Anyway, it's an old movie. Clint Eastwood, back when Clint Eastwood was young and handsome and rugged and everything else, and before he got his .357 Dirty Harry Magnum and everything else. So, cool movie. Back then it was a real violent movie, but that's kind of what I'm using as my theme, except instead of the good, the bad, and the ugly, we're going to look at a young man's life whose life was storybook, fairy tale, then it got bad, then it got really ugly, then it got good. We're going to look at him, and one reason we're looking at him is because the story starts when he's 17 years old, when he's a teenager. This is a young man who is just like you, just where you are, facing a lot of the same things that you face. And I want you to see what happens when one young man turns his life over completely to God. What can take place when a teenager sells out to Jesus Christ? Now, of course, Joseph was before Christ. Anybody know how long before Jesus Christ came on the scene did Joseph come on the scene? No. Joseph was 1900 years before Jesus Christ. 1900 years. So he's not a Christian. There's no such thing as a Christian, as a believer in Jesus Christ. However, there is such a thing as believers in God. Believing not only in God, but believing God has a promise for His people, a promised plan, a promise to deliver everybody. And this young man doesn't even have Jesus Christ. In fact, this young man doesn't even have the Old Testament that we're reading out of. He doesn't have a Bible. Okay? So you've got a Bible, New and Old Testament. You've got all the technology in the world. You have Jesus Christ to follow. Joseph has none of those things. But as a teenager, he decides to sell out to God. And we're going to look at what happens when he sells out to God. We're going to pick it up when he's 17 years old. It's an amazing life, really. Amazing life. We're going to look at the time from he's 17 until the time that he's 39. So we're going to look, as many of you are getting ready to leave, go off to college, establish yourselves, get a job, get a career, hopefully get married, have kids, whatever. By the time you're 40, you may even have a teenager. So we're looking at this young man as he transitions from being a teenager to being an adult, where all of you are headed eventually. But he starts out as a teenager. And I'm just amazed at what he does without a Bible and with what he does without Jesus Christ. That all he has is having faith in God and God's promise. So we're going to start. I've given all of y'all a lot of verses, and I'll be calling on those from time to time. So when I call it out, make sure that you read it out really, really loud. All right. Can anybody tell me the story of Joseph when he's a teenager? What's going on in Joseph's life? How many brothers does he have? Anybody know? That's 11. Well, he has 10 at the time. Benjamin's not born yet. And who are these brothers?
Shepherds.
Well, yes, they are shepherds. Most Hebrews, for some reason, seem to be shepherds. A lot of them did. But who is his daddy? Who's your daddy? Who's his daddy?
Jacob.
His daddy is Jacob. Who is Jacob?
The one who had to work for 7 years for his first wife and then 7 years for his second.
All right, he worked for 7 years for who?
Rachel.
He worked for Rachel. He got tricked by his uncle to marry her older sister, Leah. So he has sons and daughters by Rachel and Leah. And he had, we're not even going to get into all that. He didn't do that part right. But yes, unfortunately he has more than one wife. He doesn't listen to God setting up marriages between a man and a woman. He decides to be like everybody else and have more than one wife. Of course, he was tricked by his uncle. We could give him the benefit of the doubt, but we won't go there. We don't have time. But anyway, he's Jacob. Now, who is Jacob? It's important you know who Jacob is, because without knowing who Jacob is, it doesn't matter who Joseph is. He is what? He is not the son of Abraham. He is the grandson of Abraham. Who's Abraham? Father of what? He's the father of Ishmael, and he's the father of Isaac, and he's also the father of whoever said the Israelites or the Hebrews, Judaism. He's also the father of something else. He unfortunately is the father of Islam. Why? Because his descendants are the Arabs. Don't let anybody tell you any different. Ishmael, who is his son, those are his descendants. Scripture says, I will make you a great nation. God didn't specify how great. It's extremely great. But He also says that you will be what to the world? No, you won't be a curse to the world. He says, whoever curses you, I will curse. But who is Abraham and his descendants supposed to be? They're supposed to be the blessing. Abraham, who's Abraham's son? Okay, Isaac. Isaac, what does he do to Isaac?
Almost sacrifices.
Alright, he almost sacrifices him because why? Because God told him to. And why was he willing to do that? He trusted God. He believed what?
God would.
That God would bring a sacrifice. But that's not all he believed.
He believed that God would raise his promise.
What did he believe would happen if he plunged the knife into Isaac's chest? What? That he would raise him from the dead. Abraham believed not just that God would provide a lamb, but that God could raise the dead. And that was credited to him as righteousness. That's faith. That's faith in action. It's not just I believe, it's I believe and I act on it. So we got Abraham, the father of several religions, the nation of Israel, etc. and so forth. His son Isaac, who has a son named Jacob, who has more than one wife, unfortunately, and eventually 12 sons, but right now 11. And the youngest of them right now is Joseph. So there's your historical background. You need to know that. Alright? How did this family get along? They didn't like each other? Why didn't they like each other?
Because Joseph was the favorite son.
Was that a good thing or a bad thing?
Yeah.
Alright? For parents, it's a bad thing to have a favorite child and let the other children know it. Really bad deal. Because then you get the other kids don't like the favorite kid. How do we know that Joseph was favored? He got a coat of many colors. We're basically walking through Genesis 37 without reading it. Now, I want to do that right now. I want to see how we end the story. So Jacob gives his youngest son, the baby of the family right now, a coat of many colors, which shows that he's his favorite. Is that a good idea?
No.
No, not really. All right, let's pick up the story. We're going to look at Genesis 37. I'm going to start. Does anybody have verses 9 through 11? Okay, I'm going to read them. Alright, so Joseph has shared, now Israel loved Joseph. Israel is another name for Jacob. Loved Joseph more than any of his other sons because he had been born to him in his old age. Well, there's the reason why he favored him. It's not the best reason, but there it is. Alright, gave him a richly ornamented robe. That would be the coat of many colors. When his brothers saw that his father loved him more than any of them, they hated him and could not speak a kind word to him. Doesn't that sound like a great family to be involved in? You have 10 brothers and they all hate you. Alright, moving right along. Joseph had a dream, and when he told it to his brothers, they hated him all the more. He said to them, listen, I had a dream. We were all binding sheaves of grain out in the field when suddenly my sheaf stood up, and all of y'all's sheaves gathered around and bowed down to it. Wow, your brothers hate you, and you just tell them you had a dream where they bowed down to you. Sound like a good thing to tell your brothers that hate you? Not a good idea. Okay. His brother said to him, do you intend to reign over us? Will you actually rule us? And they hated him all the more. Alright, because of his dream and what he had said. Doesn't that sound like you ought to stop there? Alright, imagine you have a younger brother. And he's cocky and he's arrogant. And he's just said you're going to bow down to him. How's that going to work? How's that going to work? How many of you all like cocky teenagers? Cocky, smart aleck, I'm better than you teenagers. Oh, look at all of y'all. Y'all don't like them any more than adults do. Y'all can't stand some of those folks. So arrogant and prideful. Okay, here we go.
What was that?
Don't you think that he should have stopped there? Here we go. Then Joseph had another dream, and he told it to his brothers. Listen, I had another dream, and this time the sun and the moon and 11 stars were bowing down to me. When he told his father, as well as his brothers, his father rebuked him, that means scolded him, and said, what is this dream you had? Will your mother and I and your brothers actually come and bow down on the ground before you? His brothers were jealous of him even more. Okay, you tell them one dream and they hate you, now you're going to follow it up with another dream? Is this a good idea really for family relationships? No. But he does it anyway. So now his brothers really hate him. But it says, at the end of this verse, it says, but his father kept this matter in mind. Okay, so here we are. Wonderful family relationships. We've got a young teenager who has a lot of success, who's being lauded and praised by others. Got some people that love him, some people that hate him. Know anybody like that in modern life? A teenager with a lot of success, some people love him, some people hate him. Alright, we got a Justin Bieber. Who else have we got?
One Direction.
Huh?
Michael Jackson.
Okay. Who else?
Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift. Who else? Well, they're not now, but they were. Obama was a cocky teenager, alright. How about Lindsay Lohan? How about Britney Spears?
Michael Jackson.
What happens when a teenager gets a lot of success early? They get big-headed. Alright? We all know athletes, either on our teams or teams we play against, who've got the big head, who think they're great already. Alright? We know teenagers who think they're all that in a bag of chips. They either already think they're the best looking, or that they're God's gift to men or women, or both, which would be really bad, but you've got that. They rub people the wrong way. What needs to happen to a teenager who's cocky, arrogant, and self-absorbed and
get knocked down.
what needs to happen to him? They need to get smacked. How many of you all need a little bit of knocking down too? Okay. All right. Alright. Let's say that you're this block of wood. How shall we take off the rough edges? Oh, we can sand it. Alright, we got a little sandpaper here. This is oh wow, this is 150 grit sandpaper. I'm gonna be here for a long time. Very long time. Okay. So well actually I took a little bit of the edge off there. Is there any other way I can take the edge off this? Oh, thank you. I can chop it off.
Oh God.
Okay, I can chop it off. You know, that's what
Can I use that?
that's what chisels are for. Y'all know what this is, right? Chisel, hammer, okay? So I can take a little piece of this off, can I, right here? Oh yeah. Oh.
Don't break the tile.
Sorry about that. Messed up the floor. Okay. Anyway. All right. All right. How else can I take the rough edge off? I could burn it off, but I probably, I'm all about this. You gotta have a power tool, don't you?
You can bite it off.
You know, I want to take the edge off. You know, I really messed up the edge of this here, so. Oh, wait a second. Yeah. Gotta have your safety glasses, okay.
Be a man,
we're
bite it
gonna.
off. There you go. Oh, yum.
Ah, I love power tools. Alright. So, can we all admit that we need our rough edges knocked off? Can we all admit that? Do we all have rough edges we need knocked off? Alright. So when do you think those rough edges need to start getting knocked off? As soon as possible. And who's really supposed to be a part of doing that?
You.
Your dad.
I'm glad somebody said it. Your parents, your families are one of the perfect tools that are supposed to be used to help take those rough edges off. Now, I'm definitely not advocating what Joseph's family decides to do to him, because we're going to look at what Joseph's family decides to do. Alright? Now, so, we got Joseph, got a coat of many colors, everybody loves him, or everybody's family hates him, got all these dreams going on. What's so important about Joseph? Why are we looking at Joseph? I mean, he's a teenager, yeah. He's the son of Jacob, yeah. There are eventually 11 other sons. What is so important about Joseph? What is so important about Joseph? He's in the line of Abraham, but what is Joseph going to do? Well, yeah, he's going to interpret dreams, but what is Joseph going to do?
Listen to God.
He is going to be the Prince of Egypt, but what is that Prince of Egypt going to do?
Fulfill God's will.
He is going to change the world, but who is he specifically going to help out?
God.
He's going to help out the Israelites, who happen to be his own family. If Joseph dies, God's plan dies with it. See, God has a plan set up from before the beginning of the world. You remember before God, before. He has a plan. The plan includes having Joseph save an entire nation. And I'm not talking about the Egyptians. I'm talking about Israel. If somebody wants to thwart that plan, who is that?
Brother.
It's Satan who wants to thwart the plan. The brothers have no idea. The brothers are just sick and tired of him, so what are they going to do? Oh yeah. Let's go. Let's keep reading in... let's read, go to chapter... We're still in 37.